Hi everyone, I am Dr. B and I am going to be your guide through all 3 sessions of this course. During this first session, which will last approximately 6 weeks, we're going to begin looking at the ways that we can incorporate meaningful writing practices into our content areas. For me, that means ELA, but for the 4 of you, I know that you'll be engaging with this material from a social studies or a science lens. I am very, very excited to work with you, and I will get back to the specifics of the course, but I first want to introduce you to this week's content. So in order to do so, I want to go to the syllabus and look at just a couple of the objectives that are listed there. So the first 4 objectives will give you an idea of some of the goals for this class. First, we're going to read a variety of research and teaching articles dealing with various aspects of written composition. We're going to explore concepts and processes of composition. We're going to expand our conceptions of composition beyond just print-based texts. And we're going to share best writing practices from research. And then, if you look down at objectives 7 to 10, this gives you an idea of how we might accomplish these things. So first, we're going to explore the writing strategies and styles of everyday life. So what are we doing already? We're going to explore writing in the context of literacy tools, and don't be afraid if you don't quite understand what literacy tools means yet. We'll get there. We're also going to explore writing as a mode of thinking and learning, and then we're going to explore connections between visuals and composition. So Appleby and Langer provide us with some really awesome questions to think about as we traverse the contents of this course. So first, to what extent does present-day writing instruction reflect good practice, as indicated by research and policy statements on learning to write? So what we're hoping to do over this is develop some good practice tips and tricks that we can incorporate within our content areas. So we also want to look kind of at how content area teachers outside of ELA, as well as English teachers, address the disciplinary demands of writing in their subject areas. So how might we address the fact that writing needs to occur across all of the content areas? And then finally, how does the larger context for instruction, including the standards and assessments in individual subject areas, alter the writing experiences students have? Standards for writing are not limited to English language arts alone. And while Appleby and Langer outline the Common Core State Standards, in the introduction to the updated Next Generation Learning Standards for New York State, the Department of Education has identified standards for literacy across history, science, and technical subjects. The link to this document can be found on that left-hand pane on our UB Learns website, but here are some highlights. They articulate a shared responsibility for literacy across content areas. They work for a definition of literacy that foregrounds writing as a way to acquire and build knowledge, and they identify standards that place emphasis on students' development as they write to learn. Appleby and Langer indicate that shifts in technology usage have impacted the role that writing plays in learning. This includes how students are using technology as a part of their writing. Think about it. When was the last time you looked in a book for information or wrote a substantial work with pen and paper? So, why don't we leverage these tools in classrooms more? Why aren't we shifting our approaches to writing to include technology? And I'm not just talking about word processing. Yancey also makes this argument, and in her report for the National Council of Teachers of English, she urges us to accept the opportunity to create new models of writing that support our students' 21st century impulses to write. Embedded in the historical perceptions of writing that have influenced the development of our curriculum today, she encourages us to reframe writing beyond assessment and refocus our attention to writing that supports our students as visual authors as well as narrators of life. So what about social writing? I don't know about you, but when I was in school, writing was something that I did by myself for a grade. I didn't write with people, and I definitely didn't collaborate on essays or get feedback from my peers. I wrote for my teacher, and they gave me the grade. Things are much different now. Besides having the capability to collaborate with online tools, the impact of technology on writing has also given us opportunities to shape our audiences. Shifting our role as the expert can also enhance students' writing experiences. What happens when we expand the audience to include not only students' classmates, but those beyond the 4 walls of the classroom? Let's think about all the different kinds of writing you do every day. Let's use Daniels and his friends to help us think about this in terms of private and public writing. On pages 14 and 15, they talk about writing to learn and public writing. Now, I want to pull this back even further to think about the things that we write for ourselves and the things that we write for others. Take a second to think about some of these things. So, what do you have? Now, think about how much of what you wrote includes pictures of any sort. Pictures count too. That's the first thing we need to do as a part of this course. We need to change how we perceive writing. We need to shift our definitions of writing to include all of the ways that we communicate, because, after all, isn't writing in its simplest form a mode of communication and meaning making? Daniels et al. Argue that we aren't paying enough attention to the writing that students are doing outside of school. We aren't paying enough attention to the things that students are creating. Instead, we ask them to rely solely on words and respond to questions that we ask them to respond to. We often limit their audience and determine their content, even if we let them choose individual topics. So what happens if we let them be authors in their own learning? Like Daniels et al. States, students are doing more authoring than any young people in the history of the world. The trouble is that many educators don't see the writing they are doing as relevant or meaningful learning tools. Well, why the heck not? As you move forward in this course, we will use the term writing to refer to any process that results in the creation and dissemination of knowledge, learning, and meaning. This may sound complicated, but I promise it'll begin to make sense as we move forward. For now, think of it this way. First, I wrote some notes as I read the chapters for this week. Then, I wrote the words that you're listening to right now. Then I wrote the video that accompanies these words. And then I combined them together to write the announcement. Does that make sense? I also just want to point out that we're not tapping kids' vast out-of-school authoring experiences. Kids are composing and publishing with us or without us, and we are not building a bridge from what they are writing to what we know and can share. So what does that mean? Well, in short, we're not engaging them, and we're not giving them opportunities to develop and explore their writing in these spaces. We're not giving them opportunities to author their lives as a part of learning. Think about it this way. As Daniels et al. Says, without the coaching, modeling, feedback, and reflection we teachers can offer, their writing is limited and growth in the subject areas will be incomplete. So, what does this mean for your subject area? Well, that depends. Think about the way that knowledge and meaning are created and shared within your content area. Think about all of the things that you might want to teach students about and how writing plays a role in that. For me, it's simple. My content area is ELA, but when I think back to my own education, I think about all the times I had to create something for my social studies, science, and even math classes. How about you? So, what does that mean for us right now? Well, over the next 6 weeks, we're going to look at reframing what it means to write and all of the tools that we can use to help us engage our students in meaningful writing practices. We're going to look at the use of inquiry, technology, and digital writing, as well as visual writing, and we will introduce the idea of writing to learn in regard to your specific content area. Each week, everyone will have 3 tasks. You will compose a digital discussion journal entry. These journal entries will be your personal reflections in regard to the content for the week. At first, these will be read only by me and will serve as a dialogue between the two of us. As we move through each of the sessions, these will become public. The reading schedule will outline the content for you each week and provide you with links to any content that are not housed in one of your course textbooks. These additional files will also be included in the folder for each week. Your second task involves watching and responding to the video content for the week. This first week is created by me as an example. During subsequent weeks, this content will be created by you. You will compose your own response to the video, just a paragraph or so, and address whatever questions were posed by the author. Finally, you will engage in conversation with 2 of your classmates' video responses. This is the part of class that serves as a discussion. Online courses that I teach rely on this kind of dialogic interaction. I too will participate in this. In addition, during 1 week throughout each session, you will be responsible for creating the content presentation for the week. This video is your example. There are detailed expectations for this on the syllabus, but think of this as if you were teaching a lesson to the class. You are the expert that week. This is an opportunity for you to engage in the creation of meaningful digital content development. There are many platforms that you can use to write your presentations, and I encourage you to think out. You'll also see that you each have already been assigned a week for this first session. This was done completely at random. You will also need to check in with me the Friday before your presentation week just to give me an idea of what you're going to do. I know that 6-week summer sessions can feel overwhelming and that you're already enrolled in other courses, but I assure you that I will do all that I can to add to your learning in a meaningful and exciting way. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. My email is on the syllabus as well as on UB Learns. Have an awesome week and let me know if you need anything.